Have you ever wondered why some of the most violent killers received love letters in prison from hundreds upon hundreds of women, in spite of their monstrosities? In this video, I'm going to break down the psychology behind a woman's darkest desires, what fires her wild imagination, and why being dangerous as a man is actually very attractive to her. From the hundreds of men I've helped and interacted with, one truth about women's nature has been proven over and over. It's that attraction has no morals attached to it. To let this sink in fully, however, you need to understand a woman's most powerful urge that you can't even resist. And it's not merely to be dominated by a man, it's actually much darker than that. If you've ever heard or watched 50 Shades of Grey, for example, or The Phantom of the Opera, you see the same plot being repeated over and over again. And it's by no coincidence. In 50 Shades, you have Anastasia, a shy, inexperienced college student interviewing a billionaire, Christian Grey, for a school paper. Christian is a handsome, wealthy, but emotionally twisted and manipulative young man. He's traumatized and neglected, and he's openly warned her that he's basically messed up in 50 different ways. And yet, interestingly enough, Anastasia's chief goal became to tame him and make him capable of normal love. She wants to transform the wolf into a dog, the dominant controller into a loving boyfriend. And while she does refuse to merely submit to him, the whole arc in both of these plots is her attempting to tame his darker urges with the hope of satisfying that uncontrollable urge in herself. In parallel to this plot, you see also Christine in The Phantom of the Opera, drawn to a disfigured, violent musical genius living in the sewers beneath the opera house who deliberately kidnaps and manipulates her. A murderer who strangled people, lived in the shadows, and was rejected by society. Her delusion was so profound that she believed he was an angel sent to her by her father. And yet, this woman, believe it or not, was mesmerized by his voice and musical talent, trying her absolute hardest to reach at his humanity through kindness, believing her love can actually redeem him, and ultimately, of course, kissing him in an attempt to transform a monster into a man. This is very much like Stockholm Syndrome on steroids. A woman's most powerful victory is her ability to domesticate a dangerous man and turn him into a pet, someone she can control, manipulate, and influence without any secondary consequences. Nietzsche himself said this. He said, "Society tames the wolf into a dog, and man is the most domesticated animal of all." We see this very clearly today as well with the feminization of culture and the subjugation of men's most vital strengths. And the strange paradox here couldn't be more emphasized that once a woman succeeds in quote unquote fixing a man, the basis of her attraction is instantly destroyed, and the man becomes less desirable in her eyes because he has given up who he is for her. So he is attractive and perplexing to her only so long as he doesn't change for her. Yet she spends every waking hour trying to make him someone she will find desirable. But if you thought the madness stops here, you will be at a loss for words by these real world examples. Most people believe women are these sweet, innocent creatures that should be protected at all costs. And while some of them are more innocent than others, their minds are far darker and twisted than you have come to believe. In fact, their minds contain no less darkness and depravity than most men. It's simply that for most women, those darker impulses only manifest in very specific situations. And the best example of this is, of course, Ted Bundy, a serial murderer who killed at least 30 women in the 70s, was widely considered handsome, intelligent, and charismatic, and he had actually courtrooms packed with female admirers during his trials, believe it or not. And if you find this hard to believe, these women dressed up, did their hair and their makeup just to attend his trial. And these are ordinary women from all walks of life, of differing economic status. Bundy didn't receive one or a handful of love letters and marriage proposals. He received hundreds upon hundreds of them while he was imprisoned. Even Carol, who worked directly with Ted Bundy, actually fell in love with him. Believe it or not, she married him while he was on death row, had his child while he was in prison, and was convinced he was innocent despite the overwhelming evidence. Even the judge in his trials made comments about women in the audience, swooning over him. The media coverage focusing on his female fan club, and women literally competing for his attention in court. But it starts to beg the question, how can these women be attracted to such a monster? Don't they have morals, principles, and values? You see, the truth is, Bundy had two things going for him. He was conventionally attractive, well spoken, charming, handsome, and secondly, he was famous, one of the first celebrity serial killers and a media sensation in all respects. But it goes deeper than that, you see, because he gripped women's imagination for what he represented. He triggered in them the ultimate I can see what others can't type of fantasy, giving them plausible deniability that he might be innocent and creating a big gap between their public perception and their private beliefs. That made them feel even more special than they actually were. And to top that off, just like Anastasia in 50 Shades of Grey, they had a savior complex, but actually on steroids. They were convinced they could fix him, and the impossibility of that task only made it more exciting for them, especially when you remember that this man was a source of safety and danger in their eyes, because they had all the thrill of a dangerous man with zero tangible risk because he's literally imprisoned, and they get to control their relationship, such as when to visit and when to leave. They are fantasizing about a beast, relishing the drama of it all, without any real world consequences. And listen, women have always loved the idea of rejecting societal rules, the transgressive appeal of loving someone society hates and rebelling against conventional morality. But what can this darker expression of woman actually teach us about attraction and relationship that you can actually use to your benefit? Well, the biggest insight to take from this that goes against everything you know and believe about women is that your capacity for aggression and the darker aspects of yourself that you've hidden and repressed, what you would call the shadow, makes you extremely seductive to women. And it turns out there's powerful evidence to back it up. So between 2009 and 2014, there were a few studies conducted analyzing the correlation between dark triad personalities and attractiveness to women. And the discoveries were fascinating. The men with dark triad traits, such as narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy, were rated more physically attractive, and women rated dark triad men as more desirable for short-term relationships. In yet another study, they found that men high in these exact traits report significantly more sexual partners, have more successful short-term mating strategies, and more lifetime sexual partners than ordinary agreeable men. And here's the kicker. These traits predict mating success better than conventionally attractive traits like kindness, honesty, and dependability. This explains, at least in part, why in another study, when women in university were asked what traits they want in a partner, most of them said they wanted a kind, honest, and respectful partner who could communicate. But 56% of them reported they were currently involved with or recently dated a bad boy. And when they were asked why, they said some combination of excitement, challenge, and general difference from most guys. So when women say they want kindness and honesty, they're not actually lying, but they want those things from a man who they find attractive. They are not primary attraction triggers. They are like secondary bonuses. But it's not a good look for a woman to say that they want a man who dominates them psychologically and physically, who is also kind, honest, and hardworking. You have to remember, women want to preserve the appearance that at the end of the day, they are just sweet, innocent creatures who do no harm. So, what does that mean for you? Well, the culture and society in which you live has programmed a set of beliefs in you that certain qualities are inherently toxic, traits that make you quote unquote dangerous and out of touch with your masculine side. But the truth is, repressing your most primal instincts also weakens your strength. The goal should not be to soften your edges or take the edge off your character so that you fit into societal expectations and social norms. It should be to integrate those aspects of yourself that are buried inside you and bring them under conscious control. Integration is actually a lifelong work, but The sooner you accept that you are not a terrible person for having strong impulses, the easier it is to become who you could be, and the more success you will have in your career, your relationships, and your personal life. The point was never to be perfect or pretty because we are not women, and attraction doesn't only come from physicality. The ugliness and harsh edges are part and parcel of your masculinity. So you should embrace it as a marker of manhood, not as a weakness of any kind. And listen, the thing is, everything I just shared with you is incredibly powerful. But without understanding these three things to command respect from women, everything I told you just won't work as effectively. So watch this video next to solve them. Thanks for listening.